In this month's video, we're going to look at using different fibres in your watercolour painting. Now this is Scrim and it's used for cleaning etching plates and probably lots of other things as well. And this is just a bit of Hessian and this is Mohair yarn. So with the Scrim, you get it in like big pieces like this, and this is like Scrim I've used before, so you can use it over and over again. I'll just sort of separate bits, but once you've got your original piece, you just tear bits off like this. You just pull bits off. Sometimes you get like little knots in it, which are quite nice. So I'm just going to separate a few of these little bits, so it's a good idea to get them ready before you actually put your paint on the page. You don't want to be fighting with them while your paint's drying, so I'm just going to get a few pieces ready and then just line them up. Probably won't use them all, but I've just got a few choices there. And then I'm going to do 3 little experimental sheets, if you like, 3 little bits. Well, first one I'm going to do here is I'm just going to wet a panel and we'll use the Scrim, and then I'll do one with Hessian and I'll do one with Mohair. Okay, I'm just using any old colours. This is probably some sort of Daniel Smith turquoise, and then I'm going to put a bit of purple with that. I do like purple and green together. So I wet it with clear water and then I'm just dropping in, wet in wet, a couple of colours. Doesn't really matter how you do it because you're going to sort of put these fibres into it and then squash it down, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. A couple of pieces, and then I tend to put a little bit more paint over the top. Like that. Because this will give a darker effect when it dries. It'll probably work okay if you didn't, but that's just what I tend to do. Okay. And then I use these plastic wallets and I cut them up into little pieces because these are great just to flatten things. So I'm going to sort of squash this down and then just peel it off again. You can actually leave it on, and I'll show you that later. That creates quite a nice effect. But I'm just going to sort of just squash it for now. And that's that one pretty much done. So I'll do the next one. And I'll use Hessian on this. Same thing, wet in wet, clear water. And then put your paint on. Let them run together. And Hessian sort of comes in, rolls and a bit like this, and you just tear strands out. So it lasts ages. You only need a little bit. I'm going to do a couple of pieces. And I think on this one, I'll give it a squish first. Like that. And then on one of the strands, I'll put a little bit more paint, and I'll leave the other one, and I won't do that on the second one, and we'll see what the difference is. Give it another squish. And then this one, I will just use some Mohair yarn, which is quite fluffy, but it's got lots of little little twiddly bits which actually look quite nice. I have used this before a couple of times. You can see how fluffy it is, and yeah, just going to plonk that on. There's a bit of string there, I'll just get that out. Give it another squish. You know, you could try actually sort of making it damp first, but I've just put it on dry. And then I am going to put a little bit more paint in the middle of this section here. Not all over, just maybe a bit of it. Another squish. And then that pretty much needs to be left to dry. Now I reuse this, so I'm just going to clean my sheet up. Clean the table at the same time. And that's it, so I'm just going to leave that to dry. Okay, it's dry. So let's have a see what results we get. So this is the one that I painted. This is the Hessian. That was the one I painted over, and that the one I didn't with that one. So you can see one's darker than the other. This is the Mohair. And this is the Scrim. The Scrim is particularly successful. Get some beautiful mark making. But can you see all the little fibres on there? Now I'm starting another painting and I'm using the same thing here, and actually you can see I've got all the plastic sheets over and my Scrim underneath, and that needs to dry now. So that needs, you know, it's good to walk away from it. And when it is dry, you just slowly peel it off. So I left the plastic sheets on there, and you can see those sort of like pig geometric shapes, and that's what the plastic wrap will actually create. So sometimes it's nice to leave that on and then pull all of this fibre off. I've just used the Scrim on this picture, and you can see all the lovely textures. You know, so that's coming on now. It's got potential, but that's a work in progress at the moment. This is another one I've done recently. A bit different for me, but I just love some of the textures that I managed to create. I've used bits of salt as well. So, you know, it's good to practice. There'll be lots of other things you could try. You could try cotton, you could try string. So why not experiment? You know, go and dig a few things out of your kitchen drawers or whatever, and have a play with lots of different fibres and see what results you get. And until next time, happy painting.